Afghanistan is spinning out of control.
Are documents being shredded? How are things being secured?
We are going to continue to have a diplomatic presence on the ground in Afghanistan, but we are reducing the size of our civilian footprint given the evolving security situation there.
Afghanistan is on course to witness the highest ever number of documented civilian casualties in a single year since the UN records began.
These soldiers and Marines that are fully kitted out, putting on night vision goggles, landing in Kabul, taking positions at the airport, they're going to a combat zone, are they not?
They're certainly going into harm's way, Lucas.
Let's bring in our panel. Molly Hemingway, senior editor at The Federalist, Charles Lane, opinion writer for The Washington Post, and Steve Hayes, editor of The Dispatch. Welcome to you all. 1 month ago today, Molly, not today, but 1 month ago, maybe a few days after that, it seems that President Biden said that it was highly unlikely that the Taliban would take over in Afghanistan. Today, Congressman Mark Green of Tennessee, also an Afghan vet, he said this. Watch.
The truth of the matter is this surprised them. They were not expecting this. No one in Congress was briefed this was going to happen. They got caught with their pants down.
No outcome has to be inevitable here. I'm not going to speculate about surprise. We're obviously watching this just like you're watching this and seeing it happen in real time, and it's deeply concerning.
He wouldn't speculate about surprise, but it sure appeared to be a surprise. Molly, your thoughts?
The pundits and media and politicians are talking about the incompetence of the exit or how surprised they are about what it's like to leave Afghanistan. But they shouldn't be surprised. This is the natural result of 20 years of failed strategy. They should be talking about the incompetence of the strategy that this country used for 2 decades. We went from using our military to fight and win wars into the impossible task of nation building. When we were attacked on 9/11, we needed to have a swift and serious response. We did that. But then President Bush took his eyes off the ball. He got mired in the Iraq War. He and Cheney and Obama and Biden then took on this task of nation building in Afghanistan, the country historians call the graveyard of empires. That is what people need to focus on so that we never do it again. When our military is used, we need to have clear strategic objectives. We need to get in and get out. And that is what people don't want to talk about, but it's the most important lesson to learn right now.
Yeah, she makes a good point, Steve, because, you know, the idea really was after 9/11, you go in and you attack the people that attacked you, and then it was about democracy building. Hopefully their thought was that was going to stop Al-Qaeda from coming back in, and here we are 20 years later, and it seems like the door is back open for Al-Qaeda to come back in. Steve, your thoughts?
Yeah, it sure does. Well, Al-Qaeda never left Afghanistan. Look, it's important to have a big discussion about the overall strategy, and I think there are plenty of ways in which the strategy in Afghanistan failed over the past 2 decades. But it definitely matters if the Biden administration was surprised by the swiftness of the Taliban advance. You know, you've had statements from Biden administration officials in recent days that are very close to Baghdad Bob territory. You had Ned Price, you just played a clip of him a moment ago, saying last week that the Taliban want a durable solution through negotiations. There's no evidence whatsoever that the Taliban want a durable solution through negotiations. You've had other senior administration officials talking about how the United States would threaten to isolate the Taliban if it takes Afghanistan by force. The Taliban isn't worried about being isolated. And by the way, as this is all unfolding, the Taliban can look next door at Iran, which is the world's greatest state sponsor of terror, is continuing to conduct attacks against Americans and our interests. And we're not isolating Iran. We're inviting Iran to be part of the world community. So the arguments that you're getting from the Biden administration suggest that they were surprised by this because they're so incoherent.
Yeah, and it's not fair to say, Chuck, that John Kirby wouldn't use the word combat, but, boy, he was really hesitant. I want to watch this back and forth with he and Lucas Tomlinson and get your response.
Do you consider this a combat mission?
This is a very narrowly focused mission of safeguarding the orderly reduction of civilian personnel out of Afghanistan.
Marines and the soldiers that are about to strap it on, go into Kabul, this isn't combat?
Lucas, what I'm telling you is, and I've said it before, they will have the ability to defend themselves.
They're trying to fly civilians, Chuck, out of what used to be Kabul International Airport, right? And the Taliban is maybe hours or days away from taking over. It sure looks like this could become a combat mission.
It could. A great question that I think no one knows the answer to is what's more in the Taliban's interest? To stand back for a while and let the Americans go peacefully so they don't risk a retaliation from these very capable U.S. troops, or to somehow engage them and bloody them and try to embarrass them further and make things even more difficult for President Biden. I just want to go back to what Molly said, with her second guessing and so forth of this mission, and focus on today and what is happening today. And what is happening today, whether you like it or not, whether we should have been there or not, is that thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people who depended on us are now left high and dry and exposed to tremendous potential reprisals and violence at the hands of this extreme Islamist group, number one. And number two, allies all over the world, Japan, Korea, the Middle East, Latin America, are all asking themselves today, are we going to end up like these folks in Kabul, maybe highly imperfect and so forth, but put their trust in the United States? And at the end of the day, one fine day, the president said, contrary to the advice of my military advisors who tell me that with just 2,500 troops, we can make a go of it, we're leaving.
Yeah, and Molly, I mean, you can respond to that. I mean, these people, these interpreters, these people who we depended on for years need to get out. We're trying right now to get them out.
It's absolutely true that the Pentagon did not make good exit plans, in part because they were trying to trick President Biden into staying there. That's what our Pentagon has done. That is how they've been able to keep people there. But the fact is that rather than focusing on what's in the Taliban's interest, we need to be thinking about what's in our interest. It is not in our interest to spend trillions of dollars, 20 decades or 20 years, and all of the lives that we lost for a mission that couldn't even be sustained for a few days without that level of support.